Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of This Week in Mormons, episode 600. Woohoo!
Boom.
Nice to be here with you. I'm Jeff Openshaw.
And I'm Al motherfucking Dillon. You've missed me, people. You know you have. I'm back to haunt you in your dreams.
Well, he's on right now, folks. He did not have this much energy during any of our prep.
I've had a wild 24 hours. It has been intense.
Well, how's life, Al? What's new, man? How are things in Missouri? Do you still use do you still do some of that sewing that you got there? You and your mom do that sewing business you have?
When did when was our last show? When was 400?
I don't know if it was an even 400. I don't know. I
think this was
I do not know
right after I got married. So it would have been like 2016-ish, right?
You didn't get married in 2016.
When I get 2018?
You met your wife in 2016.
Oh, yeah. Shortly thereafter.
I should know this. You should know this.
Dude, I text you for like, when's my anniversary? Yeah, so it's been a good 5, maybe 6 years. So in that time, I've had a number of children, found wild success in every career aspect I've tried. I have a farm now.
Uh-huh.
I'm a farmer.
Yeah.
What else has happened? I bought a second town. That's been fun.
You bought a second town?
Yeah.
They didn't tell me.
The county seat. This is news, Jeff.
You bought Kingston?
I did. It's a population of like 300 people. So I bought all the commercial buildings all but one for
even the post office?
80,000. No, they're all falling down and crumbling, and I have this wild hair of like maybe, just maybe, I can make Kingston have a city budget again. So working on that stuff. I mean, just random goofy stuff. But I've got like a 4-year-old now.
Yeah.
He's in pre-K. It's very exciting. Guys, my life has dramatically changed from when you met me first with the 30-foot temple episode in 2010. We've come a long way, Jeff.
That was a good time back then.
600 episodes later, here we are.
The 30-foot temple, wherein I believe that was discussing what? Wasn't it like the temple in Phoenix, Arizona?
Yeah, it was somewhere that like with a city planning commission that hated him.
Which is not an uncommon thing. I do kind of crack up with that. Like when I drive around town here in Virginia, you'll drive past some pretty sizable Baptist churches.
Oh, yeah.
Big old buildings.
Give me a Kingdom Hall.
Huge things.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, like, I guarantee if the church decided they wanted to build a temple in the same neighborhood, people would be like, hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
These guys got grandfathered in with our pre-prejudice. Now we have prejudice and we don't want you here.
It's a miracle. The Richmond Temple is pretty decent size, so I'm glad they were able to pull that off.
I went to the Bountiful Temple 2 days ago, yesterday.
Another large and beautiful building.
But it's like, yeah, it's like right in the neighborhood. You know, it's not like the city's not built around it or anything. It's just shoved into the.
Well, it's up there at the top of the hill, like just on the drive.
Yeah, it's like in a weird cul-de-sac or something.
Yeah,
but as I was driving, I sort of had the same thing where I'm like, man, I wonder, do people just love having that in their backyard? Like, it's a nice building and great grounds to go walk around. You'd think it'd be like living around a museum.
You meant literally like for the aesthetic of the neighborhood. I thought you meant like do Latter-day Saints appreciate having a temple just in close proximity up the street?
No. I mean like does the shirtless guy trying to smoke a cigarette on his porch like that he's staring down the lane to a beautiful temple and finely manicured lawns with birds of paradise.
Maybe
growing.
It'll, change his whole outlook. It's like that scene in The Singles Ward when he's going to hook up with the waitress chick and she opens her drapes.
Mm-hmm.
To a view of the Salt Lake Temple that I don't think is actually possible from any apartment building anywhere in Salt Lake City. It's like Fraser's view from his balcony of the Space Needle. That doesn't exist either. And shocks him, man. Shocks him.
Puts him right back into it.
Maybe we should show that. It makes me sad that Will Swenson is no longer an active member of our faith.
Yeah, but he gave us so much.
Maybe someone should show him that movie again and it might change his mind.
Or just open their drapes to him.
Do you remember?
Why don't you open your drapes?
The name of the episode is "Open Your Drapes to Will Swenson."
To him.
I have you back on for 5 minutes, and the
I give you gold, Jeff. It's all gold. What have you been up to since I've been gone?
The people already know all that.
Since I've been
So
gone.
I'm just living the dream. Everyone knows this. Some things we haven't talked about in recent weeks. Let's see. Well, it was my birthday last week, so that
A
was
happy birthday, by the way.
whoopee.
No,
Fun,
this is
fun
great.
times.
What did you do? What was the birthday?
I just kind of kicked it. Well, the real exciting thing was dinner,
Go
which
on.
we had at Cafe
Mhm.
Rio not because I desperately wanted Cafe Rio on my birthday.
You were on your way home from Costco and it was
no,
there.
it's nowhere near us. It's half an hour away.
I take it back. Keep going.
It's because Cafe Rio is a guaranteed meal where my children will just like happily eat their food and not cause problems.
Wait, what do they get?
They get free Nino quesadillas and they go crazy on them. They just live it up.
It's a cheese quesadilla?
Oh, they'll eat like 3 apiece and they're so happy about it. Yeah, really? I wish I could get them to eat like, some rice, some beans, some guacamole, something else more interesting. But the bottom line is I could have done a pleasant meal at home.
No.
And dealt with fighting, a lack of eating, not paying attention. Or I go to Cafe Rio and they go crazy. So that was the gift to me on my birthday.
Well, I like that, man. That sounds fun. That does sound nice. 3 quesadillas a piece. Those kids are going to be giants.
Yeah, sure. No, you've met them.
They are a nice batch of children that don't eat very much.
That's also true. And when you visited us, it was just frankly embarrassing for me. I mean,
I like that. Like our kids are like wildings, where we make them go forage for their own roots outside, and they know how to judge a good mushroom from one that'll kill them.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's like they sort of like my wife has thrown like the most random foods at them, and they're like, they'll eat stuff I won't eat. Or they're like, "Oh, do you have the yellow curry tonight, Mother? Wonderful. Please, more curry." And I'm like, I'm a red curry guy only. Thanks, guys. But no thanks. Yeah. Which, by the way, I found a great Thai barbecue fusion place in Overland Park, Kansas City.
I'm sorry. Combine all those terms again.
Overland Park, Kansas. It's a Thai KC barbecue fusion. So you get
that's normal.
Dude, imagine a crab rangoon.
Yes.
With brisket.
Yes. A smoked crab rangoon.
Imagine a short rib, like Thai or spring roll thing. Yeah, it's very nice.
Is this what's happened to Overland Park? T-Mobile acquires Sprint and they lose their flagship employer, and now you've got insane.
Now we have strip mall Thai barbecue fusion that is fantastic. You should go hit it up.
Okay.
Come visit sometime, Jeff. Be a pal.
It's already been almost 2 years since that last time we went out there, which is kind of crazy.
I know.
Where's the time?
And then I came and visited you, and then
to set me apart.
They ended up
as a high priest.
So I was coming out. Jeff is in the bishopric now, and he's like, dude, we're doing this. So I bring the whole family. We all fly out there, and like the day before, he's like, hey, well, you can tell your side. You call me and say,
I don't know if people have heard my side or not, but basically, like, no, well, you're condensing a few things. You came out here, brought the family, blah, blah, blah. And then, they decided, so the stake president wanted the other counselor to be around, who was, for lack of a better expression, moving up from second counselor to first counselor, who'd been traveling a lot for work.
It's a lateral move, but he wanted him there.
He wanted him there, so everybody was there. And
I think unanimously we can say that's a stupid thing. That's a stupid reason to not let us ordain you to
but he's going to do his thing. And even the other counselor was like, hey, I can do this in absentia. It's okay for me. Like give time to the counselor who's being released, who's moving. That's cool. Jeff's new. Let him have whatever. But that's what they decided to do. And so because of that, they did not reorganize the bishopric the Sunday that.
So Jeff had a guy. We spent thousands of dollars to be there, and it's like, okay, that's fine.
We got to go to Fuddruckers, and you got to go to Mount Vernon, which you guys did not care about at all. So it was great.
No, yeah, I am not passionate about George Washington.
Yeah, and so that was one step of it. Then they decided they were going to do it a few weeks later. I was like, this is really happening for sure. And you were like, dude, okay, man, I'll do it. I will do it. I won't bring the kids, but I will fly out there.
Coming out. We're going to do a day. And
we'll make it happen. And you were figuring out times. And then you call me on like Saturday morning, right? You're going to fly there on Saturday night. And you're like, so it turns out my flight was not for 6:30 p.m.
Yeah.
It was for 6:30 a.m.
Which I thought I got a credit that I could use later. And they will not give it to me because they said, no, technically you missed your flight.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
So it was Divine Intervention kept Al from coming out again.
And this
turns out I show up to church and they're like, yeah, we're not doing it this week. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Okay, fine. And so eventually when they finally reorganized the bishopric, I just had my bishop do it, and that was
I was
fine.
like, you know what, Jeff? I love you, man. I can't do it again. I can't make it back out there.
I was like, all right, it's fine. The really funny thing with all of
Which,
that,
to be fair, my line back to Jesus of priesthood ordination is much cooler than your bishop's, though, and so I wish you had mine. I mean, we'd have so many people in
I should
common.
actually ask Sully to give me mine for that, because I have my Melchizedek priesthood one,
Yeah.
which is the main one that matters. I don't know if there's a line to trace, like for someone who ordains you a high priest, i.e., like who ordained them a high priest. I don't know if that matters.
Wait, does Salt Lake have it? I thought you just had to get it from the person that was doing it.
You can order them from Salt Lake.
No.
You can say you want those, and they'll send them to you.
That's magic.
It's pretty nice. But my bishop is from
put the link in the show notes.
My bishop is from Sierra Leone and one of like the earlier members of the church there. So he has an interesting, history as far as people who have
that could be fun.
Across and ordained him.
Okay. All right.
I will say, so the funny thing with all of that saga,
and it was a saga.
With all of that was the timing with everything, because they called me to the bishopric in like early March. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right. And then of course I talked to you and we sorted it out. The next day, maybe a day and a half later, whatever, my wife took a test and turned out she was pregnant, which I haven't talked about on the show yet.
Big announcement here.
Yes. And so that's all well and fun. And we are having a baby in November. So that was, the timing was funny in them, because then they'd like dragged so long on actually making this happen. And I am convinced, because I am a chump. All right, whatever. The Lord wants me in this role in the bishopric for some reason. That's fine. I am grateful to serve and happy to do it. I'm the last person to think I'm the person you want for the job, but that's great. But I'm convinced, had they like talked to the other counselor first and kind of learned the schedule in advance, and okay, we're not going to be able to touch this thing until like May, and then they wouldn't have called me until then. If I would have had the news first that my wife was pregnant, because we were thinking about moving, and we were kind of like not getting much direction. We were praying about it, kind of stupors of thought, nothing one way or the other. And if the first bit of information we would have had was, okay, we're having another baby,
we need a bigger house.
We needed a bigger house, and that would have been like, this is nudging us in a direction. This is giving us intel that we need to make informed decisions. And we probably would have been like, okay, we're peacing out. That's it. And then the call would have come to the bishopric, and I said like, yeah, sorry, closing in a house in a different metropolitan area. Thanks.
But no, now you're roped in. You got like at least a year or two that you.
So now I'm here. I have chosen to believe that this whole hilarious saga, where you had to waste a lot of your time, but it was fun to have for a weekend, was because the Lord was like, this was like an injunction to just be like, all right, you just stay where you are. Because when that first came, I was like, okay, this is something. The Lord wants me in the bishopric in this area.
Yeah.
So that's something of an answer we're looking for. And so that's kept us here for the little bit. We'll see how long my bishop will get released in about a year, and we'll see what happens. The worst case scenario is they want me to be the bishop. So my goal is to, torpedo this thing enough that they don't even
just continue to fail so they'll fire you. Yeah.
That is sincerely, my
only ambition for leadership is just to like clean up the crappy schedules and excess meetings and stuff.
So you want to be an executive secretary? That's your plan, which is very ironic, because I know you, and I don't think that would be something.
Nope. You do. I just make my assistant do all my stuff. I wonder what would that be like? I wonder if I get my assistant to like teach a Zoom class or something and be like she's over in the Philippines. I wonder if I could just say, hey, will you teach this religious course for me? And I could offload all my calling. Jeff, I might have just cracked the code.
Dude, when I was exec sec, one of the best things I ever discovered was Calendly. Oh my gosh. Changed my life.
Yeah. Why doesn't every executive secretary just use that? It's like, hey, you need an appointment with the bishop. Here's the link for that. And
I set up a whole portal. It's like different appointment types. Check what you want. Do your thing. You have to keep an eye on it in case somebody set something up that maybe they shouldn't. But I didn't really run into any issues like that. It was great. Super useful.
That's amazing.
Everyone should do it.
Yeah. So anymore, my calling these days, I'm teaching the youths, Jeff.
Yeah.
I mold impressionable minds.
So you're teaching on first and third Sundays youth class?
Yep.
Is that which age range?
We've got a pretty mediocre Sunday school
president.
Yeah.
Well,
because I teach all of the age groups.
Like at once?
It's like a class of 40 kids that I walk through, and I'm like, this is not
And you're the one teacher for all of them
Yeah, that's right.
at once?
It's the dumbest
I
thing,
mean, I was going to
Jeff.
joke this was like, a school back in turn of the century America.
It
There's the
sort of
one room,
is.
and
No,
there's
I should get a ruler or something and walk around and be like, no, Marcus, get out of here. That's how I imagine a school marm. That's my school marm voice.
Why don't
But
they
yeah,
call additional teachers? Just
right. That's great.
do you
Yeah,
have the resources in your ward for that?
yeah, we have a huge ward, like an enormous ward. And I don't know why. I think, well, this is why I judge the worth of our Sunday school president as like he's not doing a good job. I don't want to cast stones, but I think he's not doing a good job.
Yeah, you're saying this publicly on this podcast. That's good.
I'm not going to name names, but it rhymes with Ann Brunt. But no, I mean, I think he just hasn't got around to doing it yet. But
Sunday
yeah.
school president is like, I think it's very high on the list of callings where, unless someone is an extremely proactive individual, just nothing's going to happen. Because if you don't do anything, then whatever.
Well, he knows, like, I'll show up and do it. Like, but literally, I've been like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to make it. And he's like, oh, wonder who's going to teach it then. I'm like, no, you got to figure that out. You got to help me here.
I'm mixed on that. I do think it should be up to teachers to like try to find their own replacements.
I'd be happy to.
But you're in a different position. You've got the entire class.
It's enormous. It's crazy.
That's just plain wrong. I dip into some of the youth classes in my calling, see how they're faring.
Bishoprics are now all youths. Like,
and I have
you been camping with your young men? Are you over the young men?
I'm not. I mean, like, you're the pseudo young men's presidency, so like the deacon's quorum falls under my purview.
Yeah, Jeff, you haven't taken them camping yet?
We have not been camping because camping anywhere east of the Rockies is wrong. We've all established, we know this, unless you're up in like Maine or something.
Loser.
And it just didn't happen. We had other activities during the summer.
They're the wrong activities. Kids want to go camping. Take them camping, Jeff.
They might, but
be their father figure that they never had at home.
They all have father figures.
Doesn't make it right.
So it's fun. I don't know. I do have mixed feelings about the whole getting rid of the young men's presidency and having.
Yeah.
I get the rationale. I get it. Like, let the bishopric offload a lot of the bishops.
Yeah, get them to do something.
Offload a lot of their responsibilities to the Elders Quorum and Relief Society. Let them focus basically on the adults. The Elders Quorum and Relief Society presidents are essentially the adult leadership for the ward, more or less, and then have the bishopric focus a lot on the youth. The youth are at risk. The youth are not retaining super well in the church right now. I understand all the reasons behind it, but I also think
you understand all the reasons.
Yeah, every single one.
Holy
but I think that it's like I have two callings, though. It's really like I have the calling that would be all the things you would expect for a second counselor and a bishopric to handle, all the ward administrivia and organization and planning and all that junk. And then you're also just kind of randomly involved with the youth, which is a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. I would just see there still being value in there being an actual young men's presidency and people who could devote all of their resources to them while we still keep an eye on things. I think that could be good too. But I am convinced the main reason they did this, it's that. But I also think that by no longer having a young men's presidency and no longer having a separate high priest group, that is 6 Melchizedek priesthood holders you do not need to have to organize for ward leadership.
Yeah.
Or to organize a ward. And that makes it easier to organize.
You should be able to call them to be Sunday school teachers for the other youth age groups.
Yeah.
So you don't have a 40-person Sunday school class, Jeff. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. How am I the insane one?
Well, you're teaching next week. I think you should lose it.
Just go in. It's actually great because I feel like I'm a pretty good teacher, and with my like 19 years of EFY, I handle it pretty well. Where I'm like, all right, everybody do a clap cheer for me and chant my name for 20 minutes, and then I'll come in and teach you. So I have a guy come in and vamp him up, and he's like, all right, he's not coming out here till you guys get loud enough. Let's hear it. Ow, 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 ow. Then I dance in.
I should do that for sacrament meetings someday. Like, all right.
The bishop's ready. Are you ready?
Which would be hilarious because you know how many meetings I've already been in where they're like, you set the tone for the meeting. The way you conduct sacrament meetings sets the tone.
No, I'm pretty sure I got released from the High Council because I got in an argument with the entire High Council where they were like, we need everybody to be on the stand folding their arms 10 minutes before because we need more reverence in sacrament meeting. And I was like, that's not real. I was like, come on, people come together once a week and get to see each other. Let's not shame them for being enthusiastic about gathering with the saints. I think the point is gathering. And so if we have a little rambunctious bunch of people that just love each other so much and slapping backs, like, can we not neg on that? Let's be excited about that. And then when it's time for sacrament meeting, let's sing a hymn and have that bring in the
No.
reverence and do the thing. If you want to add one more before we start, hymn, prayer, hymn, go for it. But like, we don't need to sit up there like a bunch of stuffy goofs. And the stake president vehemently
like that, huh?
disagreed. No, and I, as you know, my personality, I leaned in, to say it mildly. I leaned in.
Is this like the time you was that when you talked back to Cecil Samuelson at BYU Hawaii?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, Brother Doan, if that is your real name.
I will never forget when Cecil visited us with our group in Ukraine, and it 100,000% seemed like he did not want to be there and was put up to it. His entire demeanor was like, "Why am I visiting these BYU kids?" I mean, we were like, "We're your students, man.
Yeah.
Come on." His entire vibe was. Did you know Biddle passed away this year too?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he did.
Well,
I found that out when Stout was on with.
I'm both sad and also he
Paulina.
gave me a B for that class, and there's no reason I should have got a B. I did all the work.
Point of order.
I was there for everything you guys did, and it's a group project. You can't pick me out and give me a B. Cobb got an A. How did Cobb get an A and I got a B?
Because Lauren and I got A pluses, so fair enough.
So I just want him to answer for that when he stands before the bar of God.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you better know I'm bringing my litigation to that bar, and we will hear what he has to say.
Did you all miss the old days of Twin Folks when we would just talk about nothing for 25 minutes before doing anything productive?
Most of our feedback is like, the banter's too long.
Like, yeah, well, this is leaning in, like you said.
To which we say, we don't care.
Okay, I'm going to give you a quick news item, though. I'm going to give one to you. One that has come my way, and you will probably think it's not a big deal, but I think it's serious news.
This is breaking news.
It came to my attention this week that if you have a Yahoo or an AOL email account, you basically cannot get emails from the church right now. There's a bug in the system that's causing problems. Our ward looked into this. I contacted someone at Church IT, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is major. This isn't just through LCR."
I don't know if that's a bug. I think it's a feature. You know who else can't get it? Juno.com email addresses. Also,
ironically, GeoCities gets everything still.
FreeServe is also on the list of no emails going through.
So anyway,
Prodigy emails, CompuServe emails no longer being sent through the church domains. I think if you still have a Yahoo or AOL email,
a lot of people do.
You're either 90 years old and we expect you to die soon, or why would somebody have a Yahoo email address?
Yahoo still has over 200 million active users for their email service.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, I still have one, but it's like I haven't logged into it in 15 years.
I think I still technically have one, but I don't even know how
it was. Yahoo was my mission email.
It was mine too.
And it was fine for the time. But once Gmail came around, people, you got to jump ship. You got to go.
It's better. And as a side note, when you're like in a ward council and almost everyone has a Gmail account and you're working in Google Docs to do stuff, but a couple people have like Yahoo and Hotmail, and you're like, you gomers. Now I can't get you into you can get them into Google Docs, but it's not as easy as if everyone just has a Gmail account, folks.
They should just have a Gmail account.
I once looked into trying to get actual like paid G Suite for our ward. I wanted to buy a domain and have, you could be like bishop at, xxxward.org. Boom.
Church won't let you though, right?
Church won't let you do it. I chased this one pretty far up and found out they're not too keen on it. I was trying to get.
I wonder if it's like the Facebook groups and stuff. Can you just do it and nobody knows?
That one's goofy. Like, there's nothing wrong with the Facebook group as long as you say it's not an official communication of the church. You can do them. I mean, there's regulations around it, but you can do it. My issue was I was trying to get. You could buy G Suite, but you can get it for free if you are a nonprofit. So I was trying to get a letter
Oh,
To prove
yeah.
to Google that we were a nonprofit to do it, and I could not get Salt Lake or my stake to cooperate. It was very sad. Anyway, if you have those emails, folks, or if you're sending emails, bear in mind if there's people in your leadership or in your ward who you need to receive them, and they actually have Yahoo or AOL, there's a chance they're not getting it right now, and you need to make plans. So I know we're joking about it, but take that seriously, because I've learned that there's people in my ward who have not been getting ward messaging because of this issue, and all of a sudden it makes sense. We're like, so that's why you didn't know about these things. That okay?
And if you have a Gmail account, most of your ward communication is going to be in your spam folder because it comes like an old listserv format, which is the church's problem. They should update that.
Well, yeah.
You remember the old listserv days, man? Man, DC loved listservs back in the day.
I don't know if they still have it or not, because I didn't need to be on the ones I used to be on after a
No,
while.
but like you move into an area and you join that listserv and you were getting furniture for sale.
Oh yeah,
apartments to move into, activities coming up. That was
Ukrainian brides, the whole thing. Yeah, it was.
Those were great. I was talking to somebody the other day about the old G-Chat days, because there's a service that used to it would randomly ping the people that were online. And like, dude, do you remember just how satisfying it was to have some random contact that all of a sudden was online and available? And you're like, oh, what's Walter doing? Hey, buddy.
I remember how fun it was to have the standalone actual G-Chat app that I didn't even use in Gmail.
And then to just see people online, you'd have 10 conversations going. It just felt like you were connected to the world. Yeah. AIM, ICQ. I mean, these were all doing that today. Slack needs a general Slack for personal Slack, where you and I could just oh, Jeff's on. Great. What's up, man? What are you up to?
Yeah. It's less fun now than it used to be. And now Google finally has done their transition to chat, which is just Hangouts.
They paid millions for that rebranding.
I don't know what Google. Don't get me started on Google messaging
don't
strategy.
Don't get me started. Don't do it. Google messaging.
Why can't they be like? I don't say be like Apple, but iMessage is a nice idea.
You see Google prodding them for not being in the rich SMS stuff.
Yeah, well, they're trying to get them to do RCS, and I love that Tim Cook is like, the way to get around the green bubble is buy an iPhone.
Yeah,
jeez.
Such a douchey move.
Jeez.
Well, my big bit of news here,
yes,
man.
Tell me.
I don't miss being in this Trello board at all, Jeff. I would just like to say this. President Nelson had
I wouldn't know what Trello was if it were not for you, my friend.
98th birthday. And Trello's great. 98th birthday, and the church put together 98 bits of wisdom from his years of teaching.
You know what I haven't looked into?
In random order that you can read. And I'm going to read you.
Did they do one for 97? Because if so, I'm really curious if all they did was added on one, or if they actually redid the list.
Oh, I don't know. But let me just tell you. The ongoing restoration needs ongoing revelation. Number 73. It's funny because I'm looking over here. I turned 40 this year, and my wife made me 40 reasons that the kids say they love me.
Oh,
and it's very similar. It's very similar. Where for me, he's tall, and President Nelson says, "Now is your time to prepare to meet God." My number 35, he's smart. President Nelson's 35 is you can get personal revelation for your own circumstances just as naturally as I can for my circumstances.
Yeah.
Number 38, he's an explorer. Number 38, faith in God and has always been the preeminent force for good in this world.
What is your number?
I just feel like Sister Nelson could have made this a little more cute and fun for him.
What is your number 40?
Well, let's see.
Because his says we believe in freedom.
40. He spins us around. And
that's not bad.
We believe in freedom. So I mean, yes and yes. I like it. It's a good format for birthdays. I feel like not overused. You feel good when you read it. I hope President Nelson read this and was like, I did say all those things. But guys, if you want to make me feel loved, you could have done something a little more personal for me. Because his love language, and I'm just going out on a limb here, because I'm guessing his Myers-Briggs is roughly what Jesus's was. And I would then say his love language is going to be words of affirmation. And these aren't words of affirmation. We should really try to affirm him more with our words and say things like, he's of average height. He has thinning hair. He is enthusiastic, and he has a light jog as I hear, through the halls of the church office.
He jogs around.
He likes to travel. Number 19 would be.
Yes.
This is my list if I had one. Jeff, I mean, feel free to chime in. He could still slay the ladies even as an 80-year-old because Sister Nelson came into his world. I think he was 80ish, right? I mean, I would be very self-conscious about dating in my 80s. I just feel like I'd be like, I'm just going to wait this one out. But this guy, he said, no, this is my time to shine.
Was it the 80s? It's been long. He was at least 70s. Had to be 70s, right? I mean, who knows when you're 2 years away from being 100? I don't know. Maybe it wasn't.
How old was President Nelson? Google is going to be like,
just look at Russell M. Nelson on Wikipedia. You find out when it says he married Wendy. Bada bing, bada boom. It's as easy as that.
When
he married Wendy L. Watson in 2006.
81 years old.
2006, yeah.
Nailed it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This guy gets all the respect, you know.
She's only 72 right now. So let's just remember that, people.
Hey, I know people that have done way worse. And she's 72 now. So hold on, 98 minus 81.
I'm just going to enjoy watching you do that math there, Mogul. Make it happen.
Oh, I typed that in. 98 minus 81. We're talking 17 years. So if she was 72.
He was 55.
Whew, and he was 81. Man.
Boom.
Wow.
I think she was in it for the...
That guy's living every older singles ward member dream is what he's doing.
You know, when you're at that age, it doesn't matter as much. But obviously, if we went down a little bit...
Yeah, no, if he was 50... and she was
like 25.
I got a friend that just did this. I was just telling you the story. Hi, Nate.
Oh my gosh. LDS Living also shared 5 favorite moments from the last year. One of them was Sister Nelson talked about what it's like to be married to the prophet. Also, that woman, he's scaled the scaffolding of the Salt Lake Temple. He's been all over that Salt Lake Temple for,
Isn't Nelson scaled scaffolding?
Yeah. He also did parkour to the top.
No.
Yes. And then he base jumped.
Base jumped off the top? Yeah. And the security guards were like, President Nelson, no. And he's like, see you later, suckers. Catch you on the other side.
Remember when we covered that years ago? Didn't somebody base jump off the church office? Remember that somebody base jumped off the office building?
And now they have like thick glass windows up there that you can't get through.
He became the oldest president of the church ever. He's now the longest lived apostle ever, too. And of course, the one I like the most, he dedicated the Washington, D.C. temple, which I haven't even talked much about on the show. We actually got to go to it. I got to go to the temple for the rededication.
Did you shake his hand?
No, I was there for the 3rd session with President Eyring.
Man, Hal is great.
I've never been to one in person like that at the temple before, so this is my pure ignorance. I was wondering, I'm like, do they like is it dedicated now? Is it not till they're done for the day? What I've learned, of course, is when the prophet's there, whoever does it, the first dedicatory prayer that he has pre-written and reads, after that point, the temple is dedicated because President Eyring, of course, just read the same dedicatory prayer that
I think they all wrote it together.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
I know people
don't think
are like,
the one that he said is the canon and then everybody goes off that. I think they write a dedicatory prayer.
Yeah, because they read it. It's a lengthy thing. It was a wonderful experience, though. I mean, we were just like, I wasn't up in the main hall.
You're asking like, what is the moment that we are now dedicated?
Well, no, I think it's after that morning session when they've done that dedicatory prayer. That's when it's dedicated.
And then when you come in the afternoon, you're like, why does this place feel so holy already?
The other ones
like, I was expecting the holiness to start midway through the prayer, and it's pre-holy.
It was very busy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was very busy, but it was wonderful. I wasn't going to get to go in person. I wasn't planning on it. Then I happened upon some tickets. They had blue tickets and gold tickets, by the way. There was a tier system.
You got a golden ticket. Did you have to eat a chocolate bar to discover your ticket?
No.
But what if you did? What if they were like, all right, there's a number of tickets out there in Books of Mormon that the missionaries will pass out. And when you open it,
Marriott hotels, you must stay in Marriott.
It's in the top shelf of your Marriott hotel nightstand. And whoever finds it gets to come to the temple dedication and be my personal guest. It's an Ome's competition thing. And they say, all right, there are 50 golden tickets. And then you go and stay in a Marriott hotel and you say, no, Grandpa, you open it.
Yeah.
You open it, Grandpa.
And then you say, I bet the ticket makes the chocolate taste terrible.
That would have been that would have been a good publicity campaign.
Unfortunately, basically the golden ticket got you into the assembly hall upstairs. The DC Temple has one of those large assembly halls that runs the full length. Blue tickets would just put you in other rooms throughout the temple. We had blue. It was fine. So yeah, we were watching it on a feed from a ceiling room, but it was great. It was wonderful. I would have loved to be in the main room with Hal and Elder Gong. That would have been cool.
But when I went to the Rome temple dedication,
I recall this.
And the
I
Rome
you
one
went to the open house. You went to the dedication too?
Yeah, I was well, because we just showed, like, I don't think we had tickets, but we were just like, hey guys, can we go? No, we got tickets. I don't know, because they were prioritizing.
I remember because one of you had someone watch the kid. Yeah.
And Josie
watched your son.
Yeah, very nice. But yeah, we went over there and went to the temple dedication. It was the same thing. We were in an annexed sort of room.
Yeah, just somewhere else.
And it was great. And then we walked out and we got to watch, I think it was President Eyring or something, walk out. And so we all stood and just watched.
I saw President Eyring when we were parking. He was in the motorcade right in front of us, so I saw him get out. And then when we were in the bridge that goes across, he actually came up the stairs 30 feet.
I feel like that would be such a weird level of fame, right? Because it's not like it's not like you're not cheering for anybody. It's just like wherever you go, people say, hush.
Yeah.
Wow, it's him. Wow. That'd be such a weird thing to be like, yeah, I'm a normal guy. You guys want some lunch? You want to hang out? What do you want to do? But
I would have loved to hang out. The funny thing though is they do still treat them like VIPs. I mean, they bring them in their motorcade. They park in a different area, enter a different area, leave a different area, exit. They do not go outside on the esplanade of the temple and mingle with the folks, which I think, quite frankly, they should do.
This makes me remember when President Monson came to my university, BYU Hawaii, back in the day, and he was there with Elder Hales, and I was manning the back door and shook his hand because he comes in. I shake President Monson's hand and was like, wow, it's amazing. And then I was watching him as Elder Hales tried to shake my hand, and I stiffed him inadvertently. I didn't realize I left him hanging. And it was just and then he just gruffly walked past, fine, get out of my way. But I did the slowly run my hand through my hair thing. It was sorry, sucker. I didn't say that, but I felt really bad that I stiffed Elder Hales. I still, to this day, I'm oh, it just feels terrible. I'm so sorry that I didn't see you. He's a smaller man and I'm a giant.
Was Hales a smaller fella?
Me and Monson, we were eye contact. I was like, my man. And then Hales was hidden in the shadow of the giant linebacker known as President Monson. Anyway, speaking of old people, the Queen died. Well, I mean, that's a transition you
it's a segue of dreams right there, my friend.
And the First Presidency said they released a statement that said, ding dong. No, wait.
The witch is dead?
They said,
hope not.
She was great, and a lot of respect and admiration for the Queen, and our sincere condolences. So just so you know, the First Presidency
was a great job reading that, Al.
The First Presidency noticed that the Queen had died and said, we're sorry to hear that. So that's our news week this week. Lots going on.
That's basically the gist. I mean, we have a lengthy history in the UK, so I get it.
I want to know what the First Presidency statement is on Harry. And wait, is it Harry? Meghan Markle married which one?
That's Harry.
Harry. Yeah. And Charles, and their feud and their unified front they presented, but still, they didn't eat dinner together the night before. And that's what I'm saying. Now their dad is in the presidency. Will they get titles? I don't know. Yahoo News is really throwing me for a loop here.
Wait a minute. So Yahoo does exist for something else other than email?
That's my main news source. Yeah, absolutely.
And Yahoo owns AOL, by the way.
If I ever ran for president, they said, what news sources do you read? And I'd be like,
Yandex.
The front page of Yahoo News?
No, you're V Contacta.
I remember when they asked Trump that, and he was like, I read news.
I read Pravda.
Whatever people send me.
By the way,
it's mainly been forwarded 9 times, but that's what I read.
By the way, how about our friends in Ukraine taking back a sizable portion of occupied territory in recent days?
Oh my gosh, I just don't know how this ends, man. How does Putin ever let it go? Did you talk about this with Stout?
Yeah, well, I mean, Yeah,
How does
I mean,
Stout think it all like
that was
what
exactly
was
how
his
it'll
read on it?
end. Ukrainian victory. There's no other way.
Does he see Putin just like withdrawing and saying, "I'm terribly sorry, I made a huge
I
mistake"?
don't think Putin will withdraw. I think he'd just be forced out, and then Ukraine's gonna be like, "Well, what now, dude?
Do
Like,
we
we
need
took
to
back."
assassinate Putin?
I don't think anyone needs to be
I mean the
assassinated.
Ukrainians.
I don't think anyone needs to assassinate
Are they
anybody.
looking
No.
to assassinate Putin?
I cannot say.
Did Stout mention anything?
His intel did not specify whether that was the case.
Did this nice church leader over there have anything to say about murdering the leader of the Soviet Union?
Yeah. So here's a story that I totally dug out of LDS Living, and what I did not know was a thing to read. So Adassa, who is a Colombian American artist, you might know her best if you've seen the hit movie Encanto. She did the voice of Dolores, the one you can hear very well,
What?
of the
Sing me one of her
the Familia
songs.
Madrigal.
What does
Well,
she
you know,
sing?
she sings about like you can't talk about this guy named Bruno
No,
in particular.
can you sing it?
She's known for that. Um,
I can't place it.
you know, she's like, and she does this really low rap.
Ticky 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 ticky
Understand?
ticky ticky ticky
Anyway,
ticky ticky.
this is
Ticky
a
ticky ticky.
wrong song. This is an interesting profile. Way too much to read in over here, but it kind of starts with her experience auditioning for Encanto. But I had no idea she's a member of the church.
But she's a
Absolutely
one
no
word.
idea.
She's like Marshmallow. She's a one word artist.
Yeah,
Or Prince. I guess Marshmallow or Prince. Both of those would represent
yeah,
one.
or Elton John.
What?
I had no idea.
Is that not Elton John's real name?
Well, no, it's not his real name. We know that, but I was just joking.
What? What's
one
his
word.
real name?
Engelbert Humperdinck.
No. What's his real name, Jeff?
Oh my gosh.
Elton John. Real name.
Elton John's
Hercules
real name.
John.
Elton Hercules John. I don't think that's true.
Wait?
His name is Reginald Kenneth Dwight. Or
yes!
Or
wow.
Dwigged.
Reginald Dwight was what he was born at. Wow. Okay. That's a bit of trivia that I'm glad you know, and I had no idea.
Here to make your life better. So, folks, read this profile of her. I just think this is great. I had no idea she's a member of the church. Really interesting to read about her faith. She's kind of candid too. Like I think she and her husband kind of joined the church, but I don't think they were like as in it. But then she kind of realized like she wanted a lifestyle change and an image change in her music, which is good because she does have an album called Kama Sutra. So it might have been around
about
that
the caramel
time.
sauce.
Yeah, it might have been around that time. She said maybe this isn't how I want to present myself, but so she's like, I remember that she's like, it's funny because I see this picture of her.
I think foreign films with trains should have an album called Kama Sutra.
French films with
Yeah, French films with trains. Could that have an album called Kama Sutra?
Yeah, please. So it's just cool profile about her entire history, the sacrifices she's honestly made in her career.
Guys, if you don't know Jeff's early years, he had a band called 2 Years Later that has a great song called Lindsay Parker, which is one of the songs that shaped the 90s for me.
We rocked so hard.
Shortly thereafter, he had a solo project called French Films with Trains.
That is the one, yes.
And
you cannot find any of the music.
More original, more sort of experimental music, I guess.
I was listening to a lot of Joan of Arc at the time. I'm sorry, I didn't know what was.
And so like longer 6-7 minute ditties, and I just wish that group, which is Jeff, would publish a new album.
All right, here's the deal, folks.
I've been subscribed to Spotify for years.
Look, it's about $50-$60 if I want to do full distribution on CD, baby, or something and go digital. So, folks, if you want to kick in the money, I will put the entire bad French films with trains, like local recorded demo quality recordings, in my bedroom discography.
I have a few on in my Gmail. I think.
Afterwards, I will put up your favorite album, The End of Innocence, when you helped me record those songs in Provo.
Oh yeah, we were inspired by kind of the William Shatner Has Been album. A lot of inspiration.
The ones that
she came from Greece. She had a thirst for knowledge. She studied sculpture at St. Martin's College. That's where I caught her eye.
That's
called music, people, and that's what we're passionate about.
Anyway, people, read this profile of her. You will be so glad you did. It's funny because only now that I see a picture of her at the Encanto premiere, like knowing that she's a member of the church, can clearly see her capped garment sleeves through her dress. Whereas before, if you show me that same picture,
how dare you pig? Okay,
I am.
Your job is not to look for garment lines.
It is.
You man.
Yes.
Stop it.
No,
This is something that I actually heard. A friend of mine works at the temple and says they were instructed to start sort of watching for people coming to the temple without their garments on, which I guess is a thing
that's a thing.
where people just show up in like a tank top and stuff.
Why would you?
Maybe more. So this might be specific to Hawaii. All right, now I've ousted my friend, but but I thought that was interesting. Of just like, hey, when you come here, part of the attire to come here is to have your garments on.
Yeah, I guess it goes. You think it goes without saying, but
You'd think so, but
maybe not. Hey, by the way, by a quick update, folks.
people just showing up. They're like, listen, my best is these Lululemon pants, and I am not wearing. I can see that.
Remember when there was a fire in July at the under construction Orem, Utah temple, and we joked that someone actually did it? It turns out that the Orem Provo or the fire department thinks it actually was arson.
It was the local scout troop was camping there.
So that's unfortunate.
Listen,
but,
Jeff. So on my road here in Missouri, also there was
on my road is a statement you can't.
A guy set fire to a house. He thought it was an old abandoned house. Accidentally murdered a lady. There was an old woman inside. She's dead.
There's a podcast in this.
He sees this happening and says, oh no. So he lights 3 more houses on fire up and down the road, trying to turn it into like, oh, they were just burning down random things. Well, plot twist. He's like a school teacher down in Kansas City with a wife and a kid, and like just randomly went for a fun day of burning down houses, which I guess is what arsons do. I don't know. But then he accidentally murdered a woman. Now he's in jail for a long time.
When did this happen?
This was recently. This was like a few months ago.
Why do you live where you live?
It was terrifying. They thought initially that it was a gang initiation. That's what the scuttlebutt was. Oh, he's joining a gang. But we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're like an hour north of Kansas City, right? You go out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, sure.
Boom, boom. There it is.
Well, that's
arson is really making a comeback right now. That's all I'm saying.
Fun, fiery time for you.
It was fun, fiery. No, it was actually like you feel very violated when you're like, wait, there's a murder in the building. There's a Steve Martin reference. There's a murder in the building. And then you say, this is crazy. Anyway, there was a burning in the building. A burning in the building for
that's terrifying, temple. Man.
Yeah, really is.
You might have just decided to burn your house, for fun.
Well, I mean, I don't live in the hood of DC like you, Jeff.
That's right. That's where I live.
Where arson and murder happens willy-nilly every which way you turn.
There are clubs for both.
There's a murder club?
Sure. You just, that's what we do. That's what we do. Did you know that Brazil has celebrated 200 years of independence this past week?
You're not going to believe this. I didn't know that.
Did you know?
I was more focused on your birthday than theirs.
This was the day before. So the church news has a little rundown here of the, Brazil, but also the church's history in Brazil. And I think what is the most fascinating is the church went to Brazil before it went to Portugal, basically. And so they kind of joked that while Portugal might have colonized Brazil, the gospel came from Brazil to Portugal. Basically went the other way.
Yeah.
Wild times.
Brazil colonized Portuguese.
And they don't talk about it a lot in here, but they try to talk about some of the influence of the Luso-African community. There are many people in Brazil who are of African descent. Luso is just the Latin term for a Portuguese speaker. Those individuals, though, played a pivotal role in the lifting of the priesthood ban in the 70s. The church was at a crossroads because they used to actually try to make you kind of like prove your lineage and things like that if you appeared to have darker blood in you. But because South Africa is heavily mixed race, and also because Brazil is kind of in the same situation.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we're Mexican.
It couldn't be as clear cut. That's the main thing. Yeah, it was not as easy to regulate in that sense. And that's not the only reason the priesthood ban ended by any means, but it kind of accelerated a lot of the church leaders taking pause and just being like, how do we navigate this? Because we can't just simply say someone is black when in reality they're like a quarter black. And then there are a number of other things. When you have a melting pot like that, and you like, how do you
when your racism just becomes a little bit uncomfortable? You're like,
too hard to maintain.
It's difficult. I thought we had a clear line, black and white. And then
Don't.
Michael Jackson came along and said, "It don't matter if you're black or white."
And
And here we are.
he healed the world.
I had a great Brazilian professor at BYU Hawaii, Dr. Marcus Martins, who was a Brazilian black guy that he had great stories of those days and how it all went down.
Yeah.
You should have it on sometime. And he speaks with a very sort of aggressive accent but like he's got really good English, but it's like the tonal stuff is still there. The sort of the melody of the
Would you
sentences
call
is
it
still very
it's like
Portuguese.
Suarez-esque is how you describe it, maybe?
No, I'd say Suarez times 10.
No way.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was amazing. And he taught my celestial marriage class and gave a lot of like, in the bedroom, you will have. I was like, whoa, buddy, I'm taking notes. It was great. Anyway, so the youth theme for this year, speaking of things in the bedroom, there's a new youth theme. Man, these transitions write themselves. This is magic. Last year, old and broken, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding, and in all thy ways acknowledge him that he shall direct thy paths.
Proverbs.
What they realized was that was a bad domain name. It was just too hard to spell, and a lot of people were missing pieces of it. So what we got now, I can do all things through, wait for it, Christ. Philippians 4:13. And
the full version, though, is I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me.
Yeah, I think we cut that last part.
I also take issue with the grammar of that verse, but that's fine.
I can do all things through Christ. So if we can get our youths to learn one thing this year, it's that through Christ, you can do all things.
See, the issue here is it's a which situation, right? If you have which, is it a modifying clause? It's saying I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. Are you saying you can do all the things through Christ that strengtheneth
now
you?
Now let's go to the 1830 Webster's Dictionary.
Are you saying I can do all things through Christ, comma,
to
which strengtheneth me?
Understand the 1649 King James Version translation.
This is the same issue with the sacrament prayers. All right, we use which and that interchangeably in Scripture, and it is, folks, you gotta do it.
Can we talk to the Holy Spirit and just let him know that what he's prompting us to write down as Scripture is grammatically incorrect?
No, I think we need to talk to Paul in his letter to the Philippians and be like, dude, brah.
He'll say, but in the Aramaic of which I spoke, it was fine. Your translators screwed me for generations.
Didn't he write those in Greek?
Great point. The Septuagint. Yes, I don't know. But the translators still screwed me.
What? The Pentaverate? I just watched So I Married an Axe Murderer last week. Anyway.
It's a great show.
Yeah. I think this is a great, nice theme. I can do all things through Christ. Philippians 4:13.
Now, speaking about youth doing all things through Christ, there is one youth with a remarkable story. He wants to pay for his mission with his gambled winnings of American Ninja Warrior. He paid a few bucks to get on the show and thinks he can win it all. Him and his buddy
pay to get on the show?
No, I'm just trying to frame it as more of a blackjack situation than a. Well, anyway, this kid, there's a whole article. He loves American Ninja Warrior, which who doesn't? What a treat of a show! I try and watch it with my boys, and then we build mini obstacle courses out of the cushions and jump through them, and it's nice. And he thinks he can use this to make money while he's working. Some call them
tricks around the office. Somebody order some chicken.
Yeah. So wait, did he? Yeah. So
this is a great kid. His name is Evan Andrews. I mean, good on him. He's trying to save up for his mission he's been on the show many times.
Not our show, his show, but well, and like, some people like me, I mean, I did real work to save money for my mission, but if he can magically stumble upon a prize money, good for him.
I legit want to see you on an American Ninja Warrior course, Al. I want to enjoy that. I need this in my life.
I feel like I should be able to just, because I'm a giant, I should have some advantage. Do tall people get extra points on that?
I don't know. I'm actually impressed on that show by
it's all upper body strength.
It's a lot, yeah. But the builds of a lot of the people they're not what you would always expect. You would think a lot of people with very high upper body strength. Sometimes there's people who are pretty.
No, wiry
Pretty
fellas.
wiry folks who are the
Yeah.
ones who do really well.
Speaking of wiry, have you been watching the Wrexham on?
No.
It's great. You like Ted Lasso, right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's all right.
It's fine. You didn't like it?
No, I mean it's fine. I mean you waste a whole episode with Beard just meandering around the city for no
Yeah,
reason because
and it's
Apple's like, give me extra
and
episodes.
I
They're
feel like
okay, here you go.
once you're in a British accent, we don't hear the F word nearly as much
That's a little
until
bit
your parents are in the
it's a
room.
little bit true.
But but the We Are Wrexham, which is the Rob McElhaney and who's the other guy? Lesser well known fella.
His name's Ryan Reynolds, but he's
That's the one.
Canadian, so
Ryan Reynolds. Those two buy a team over there and are bringing it back. But it's a great watch. You should give it a chance. It's on Hulu, Jeff. Go watch.
I know it's on FX. So there's some good news here. Latter-day members of the church up in Council Bluffs, Iowa, are building beds for kids in need.
Remember was it Council Bluffs that had the Mormon bridge or whatever it was? Do you remember this? And I was like reading the article as we were doing it. I was like, they broke a bridge? This is garbage.
And you didn't realize it was just named that because of the history of
I thought the trekking pioneers were really being jerks.
Yeah, it's like Mormon Lake, Arizona.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. No, so good for them. Channel 3 News, which looks like it was filmed in someone's basement, gives us a nice rundown here of the members of the Church of Latter-day Saints. And that's what they called them, of course. But they made 100 beds. The Omaha chapter helped out with a group called Sleep in Heavenly Peace to make kids' beds from scratch. Glad to see people out doing the good things. Hope this gets some coverage. This video has 4 views at the time of recording, and 3 of them are me reloading the page. So
no, does it really?
Yeah. 4. What is KMTV 3 News Now? What is this station?
Oh,
why? Like none of the man, they don't have videos with very many views. That's we're talking. I have more views than this for an episode of this show on our YouTube channel.
Yeesh.
But anyway, good for them. Glad they're doing it. Wish they would give us the full name of the church, but what can you do?
That's just the Jeff speaking out to you.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, Al, that's most things.
That is most things. The church abuse scandal stuff down in Arizona. We're still not on the we're not coming out on the right side of that yet. But
AP keeps kind of trickling stuff out. The way they're doing this story, though, is fascinating because they're basically using one story to get other people to cooperate and speak up and then publishing more context. This is all Michael Resendez, who's one of the guys who did the Spotlight investigation for the Catholic Church.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which is also what's cracked me up a bit with some of the church's responses. Because I'm like, guys, do you really think Michael Resendez is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to recklessly go after the church without doing my homework. I don't think he's doing that. I think this is a journalist who is doing his research.
No, this is one, man. Like, I think the hope is just that, like, if this can bring about reform, thank you, Spotlight guy.
Yeah, that's what we can hope for. But the gist of this one here is the new court documents show that a lawyer who was also a member of the state legislature in Utah, or he was.
I think he is now.
He was
an attorney for the church back then.
Oh, no, it says he was at the time. So he was in the Utah House of Representatives in 2013 until he announced his retirement early this year. But it's a part-time legislature. He was also a lawyer at Kirton McConkie, and he was one of the lawyers who was involved in advising the bishops in question in the Arizona case. And according to these documents, it wasn't just leaving it to the bishop's discretion, like explicitly told
like, no,
do not report this because you are complying with Arizona law. Do not report.
It's such a weird one. It's funny because it's it's not funny, but like such a weird spot of like, hey, we're going to live inside the law. I think we've been adamant about this of like the reform that needs to happen is just in all cases protect the abused, right? Like that's the default space. And so if we can get there, this will be a worthwhile change in procedure and process, and we can hope that continues to happen.
Do you feel like the thing that's been the hardest for me with a lot of this, of course, just being very much on the outside, is just I just worry I don't see a lot of contrition coming out from official channels on the church side. It's all pretty like combative against AP. Which I get, and I get you're worried about. We've talked about this a lot on the show already. I get you're worried about like civil suits against bishops potentially, not
yeah.
criminal ones, but maybe civil ones. You're worried about all kinds of things, but it's like I would love for the church to just come out and be like, okay,
That's
this sucks. We pledge ourselves. We pledge to do better.
well, and it's interesting
Let's
because
do better.
like the church newsroom is going to have a markedly different tone than like President Nelson at an event speaking about it, right? And so I think if we ever got like President Nelson's response to it, I mean, it's with the Catholic Church, they sort of have like the Pope said today, and it's a little more, you're looking for that response from that individual. With the church, you're not necessarily doing the same thing, and so like I don't know, I don't fault them too terribly for having like a crappy comms department that just is like, oh, shut it down. We gotta move past this. Um, I I think it's just the nature of like a large organization that does what
Yeah,
large organizations do. But if we could design it any way, I think we'd probably both add a little dash of empathetic response in here instead of like protect the message of the church in these formal channels.
yeah, yeah. So we'll keep an eye on this, folks. It's gonna go down.
We will watch it and watch it.
You all will
No,
be.
I mean you just want outcomes where like uh, as bishops, and bishops should, I mean, kind of wish this bishop would have been rogue and had this same sort of moral compass of like, no, 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 no. My job is to protect the child. So like, of course we're going to report this. I don't need to call the legal hotline. I'm going to do this. But like the way the church process is built is not, I mean,
Yeah,
that's not what we're debating here. So anyway,
there it
Jeff,
is.
am I right? So let's reflect on 600 episodes.
Let us, sir.
What have you garnered over these 600? If we're doing an episode a week, which roughly you are, divided by 52, I mean, we're coming in 11 years.
No, we're almost on 13, buddy. First
That's
episode was the end of January 2010.
my gosh, man. So like in 13 years of
Yeah.
reporting the news of Mormondom, what's different about you today than it was then?
Ooh. I have a much deeper appreciation for church history than I think I did going into it as like an area of study that I liked or
Yeah.
cared much about. I think that one's for sure. I get a major kick out of like whether it's pioneer era stuff. Listeners know I really, really love the 50s and 60s, like kind of the correlation era. I think that's a
Yeah.
really interesting time to study.
Who's that? Heber Grant? Nick
New
McKay?
McKay, and
Yeah.
on, yeah. That's one thing. I think it's been interesting how I feel like I've grown doing this. I mean, I have. I'll be frank. Covering news, which is often like negative in scope, it
It's
depends
almost
on
exclusively negative.
it
Of
depends
well,
on
the
the
things
week.
the things that like demand a response are like
Yeah, like the
exclusively
big stories
negative.
that blow up, you care about them, you want to think about them. But when you're doing that all the time, it can be like it's hard. You have to work harder to balance that out with actually doing the good things and doing the good work in your testimony. I'm not going to say I've always been great about that. I haven't, but
That's
it's always a good reminder of like you gotta do the work as well because you're never going to have a testimony by accident. It's
well,
not just
that's
going to show up waiting for you when you're ready to clinch it. You've got to put in the work on it for sure. And that's one thing I've learned though. Like it's in a weird way. I have learned that you have to work harder for your testimony. And I have learned like I do appreciate seeing differing points of view. I really think going into the show, if you'd go back to 2010, I was not, despite how much I liked learning about different peoples and cultures and being an advocate for individuals and this and that, like I wasn't as well versed in so many of these things, like the LGBTQ experience, being a Latter-day Saint, is just one example,
yeah.
but all sorts of things that affect members of our
The arc
faith.
of that story in our lives over the 13
It's
years has
changed a
been
lot.
interesting, right? Yeah.
That's changed a ton. I mean, we started the show only a year and a half removed from Prop 8 in California,
Yeah.
and things have changed a lot.
And I think there's
But
still a little bit of us that like almost defended the stance or like didn't agree or disagree with the stance in the beginning, and then you sort of come around to like 10 years later, where you're like, oh man, that really feels like egg on our face. Like
yeah,
I understand it so much differently a decade later. And I think the church does too, right?
Yeah, no, I think the church has grown a ton in that area, and it's not perfect, obviously. I mean, it's hard to satisfy everyone, but I think in a lot of those areas, my knowledge base has grown, and my desire to understand people in different situations and what they're going through and what their experience is. Like, I care a lot more about that. You know, I might not always get it. Like, empathy is an important thing, but I don't necessarily just understand things out the gate. But I care about learning about it and
That's one of
doing
the
what I can.
things that I love about sort of this experience too, right? Is like to what you were saying earlier. There's a lot like when you end up having to fixate on the negative, uh, it's meaningful to take a minute and zoom out and remind yourself of all the positive that the church and the gospel brings, right? Of
For
like
sure.
the you go to church on Sunday and you practice loving people that done in many cases maybe should be unlovable, but we're going to try and love them, and like, but you go through these moments of like trying to pause and feel the spirit and take a sacrament and renew a covenant, and like, and like, you go to the temple and feel of the sacredness of that spot and your communication with God and like all the stuff that comes into our life because of the gospel and the organization of the church, and like, man, it's easy to be tempted to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but like if you can just let yourself be reminded of like all the great that's come into your life along the way, uh, I think it's a little easier to sort of have those grains of salt, or at least the patience. Like this this abuse one is a great example of that. Of like, man, it's a heartbreak, and you wish that the child didn't have to have this experience, or at least had an advocate in the church representatives there. The fact they didn't doesn't make like it doesn't erase everything. It more should like bring a bit of optimism of like, man, we got to change this the next time. There isn't a next time. But like, there's so much good. Don't let anger consume you, I think is maybe the message I'd
I think that's a good thing.
send.
Don't let anger consume you is very good advice, and it's easy for like the abuse stuff's been harder for me than a lot of things. And I think the
Yeah.
closest thing to it that was tough for me to work through was the exclusion policy, whatever that was back in like 15, 16, when
The snip, snap, snip, snap.
no, the one that forbade children of gay couples from being baptized. And we had a show about it and we talked about it. But that was one of those things that it just like it never sat right with me. And now it's gone. They flipped it around and got
That's why
rid
I
of it.
call it the snip, snap, snip,
Yeah.
snap.
Yeah. Um that one was tough. And I would say the abuse story and the different revelations that keep coming out about it. It's kind of on that sort of level where it's just it's there. I don't love it. I like we said, I wish church would do better, but I'm not gonna be so full of rage that it's like that's it. I mean, I get it.
Which
This
is
is
very counter. I mean, like I feel like Twitter and random Instagram influencers. I mean, so much of their platform is built on gotchaism, like these little these sort of momentum of like, see, I told you they were wrong, and then you get these like you get a
oh
weird
yeah.
mix of angry defectors and like earnest seekers, and like it's hard to please everybody, but you know, to be just a little bit outside of social media, which I feel like Twim sort of is, outside of our Facebook page, which is just a dumpster fire, but of comments. The comments section is a dumpster fire. Please don't follow us on Facebook. But like, to get to just sort of talk through it with other. I mean, this was always sort of the plan with Twim, was like, let's have a faith leaning in sort of optimism, or not optimism, but like, let's have a faithful view on this stuff and talk about it in terms of people that are still both feet in and leaning in, and how do we digest the news and what's going on around us, rather than, because the vacuum we saw was that like most of the conversation around this was happening with people that hated the church, and it wasn't a very helpful conversation for us.
Yeah, that's what we've tried to do. How do you feel? What about you though? How do you feel like you've changed or grown? I mean, you haven't been as with it for the past handful of years, but still, what's
Like,
the
testimony wise, no, I really haven't. No,
well,
no, it's funny, man. I feel like Twim really helped me through my single years, right? Like, I needed a person, which was you, to sit in a chair with me and just talk through this stuff and be excited about things to be excited about. I mean, initially we were most excited about like finding random Olympians that were Mormon, and the LDS living sort of posts and stuff. And as we've matured over the last decade and a half, I feel like particularly you, I mean, you've taken a much more sort of serious view to a lot of this stuff, which has been cool to watch. But for me, man, like it served a really helpful purpose for me. And at this stage of my life, I feel like I'm in the second half of my spiritual career, right? Where like it's much less about whose church is the rightest and you know, yeah, like I feel like my testimony is probably more complicated in some ways than it ever has been, and also
Yeah.
simpler and more earnest than it ever has been, right? I believe I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm so excited to have this moral framework and this doctrine to raise my kids around and to like help me articulate the things that are in my heart as I try and like bring kids into their teenage years and stuff. um, I'll do it much differently than my parents did, right? Like, hopefully with a little more empathy and understanding in the doctrine that wasn't there 20 years ago. But like, I mean, yeah, like I love, I don't know, I love where we are. I love my Savior. I love the sort of quirkiness and nuances of this church and all the all the like good and bad. It's funny. I was talking to you the other day and I was like, man, I just like, I feel such a draw to continue to engage with the church just so that there's not a vacuum with a bunch that leaves only the weirdos here to like be in leadership positions and like grow it. I mean, there's a lot of weirdos. And so like, I just feel such a desire to be a meaningful member. And it's funny because as I turned 40 this year, there's there's like a realization where I was like, man, I need to be the guy that invites people over for dinner, that like, you know, does the big activities that sort of draws people together and gives people the thing. Cause I'm missing that. When I go to church, I don't feel loved and pulled in and all that stuff. And I was like, because all the guys that used to do that are like 80 years old and dying now. And so if I want that to exist, it's my turn to pick up the baton and run with it.
Yeah.
And letting myself start to do that, or at least feel the draw to do that and start to respond to it has been really interesting. Because like, man, that's serving your fellow man, that's loving people that you don't know, that's all that stuff. And that's new for me right in this stage, because I spent my 30s sort of with my head down. I'll do my calling and stuff, but like, oh, I'm not going out of my way to bring people around me and help them out. And I feel like that's kind of my next decade's effort, is to be more involved that way. And so from a twin standpoint, man, like, I'm just glad it was there when I really needed it. And being on the other side of all this, it's fun. It's fun to see that it's still around and kicking. But like, I feel like my desire, my testimony sort of graduated from the weekly news cycle.
No, and I
As
get that.
as yours has too, man. Like we've talked about this a bunch.
Yeah. With that said, though, I have an immense amount of gratitude and debt to you, Al, of course, but to the many other hosts who have popped in over the years to follow us with this format. I can never repay any of them enough, quite frankly. Ariane and Tiffany, you guys have been amazing across the board. I have huge thanks to, Jared Gillens, obviously Kurt Frankum, who've always stepped up.
Yeah.
Devin Thorpe has been amazing. Patricia's been wonderful. Josie, we love you dearly, and congratulations on your baby. I don't know if I'm missing any of the main key players there. Many have come in and out. Of course, Liz Busby, who's been newer on the news front, who's been an absolute delight and an incredible asset. Just huge. All these people who stepped up and given their time and resources to
It's
pull this
crazy the
thing off.
relationships that have come out of this, right? Like Kurt's one that yeah, I ended up sitting in his house and like talking. Like, I mean, he's been somebody that we can turn to when you have questions or needs. It's like these people that just like, I don't know, it's a great community that's sort of come together around this. I also remember that one time a girl that was a loyal listener took me on a date and knew everything about my personal life,
Oh, I forgot about
everything,
that one. That was so
and
weird.
it was terrifying.
Was that the one who was supposed to get his hookup to see the Granite Mountain vaults?
I don't
Not the
I
one.
don't know.
Remember?
I just remember like she sat down in my car and said, "How's Jake doing?" And I was like, I need to get out of here. Some terror, mostly good though.
Al, I
Mostly
know
all good.
you. I'm obviously you're in the best place, but there's a little part of me that does miss all of your many single person stories during the years of this show. Because I got married. I mean, I got married like 3 years before you. 3 years, 4 years, 4 years before you, I think. So I got to enjoy yours for many more
we
years afterwards, which was
we did it perfectly, man.
which was
It's
delightful.
funny how much we wished we were married at 25, but like, man, the story that we got to write through that next couple of years was I wouldn't trade it. It was great.
And that's a tribute to my wife, folks. I've been married for far and away the majority of the time we've been doing this show. So humongous thanks to Danielle, who has always been supportive of what we're doing.
Dude,
Even if she says like, "Honey, I don't listen very like all the time."
the weekly cadence of a show, like I cannot express enough how impressive it is that you've kept going. The 400 episodes. I mean, we had a bathroom in New York during a party one time. I was like huddled with a microphone pulling a story out. We had 4 a.m. in Ukraine. Like
I made you do lots of fun
to
things.
to
You know,
keep
it was
to make a show happen every single week is an immense undertaking. And
and
so I
usually
mean,
just for like scheduling. I mean, that's really it. But yeah, it's an immense.
it's an hour away from your family, from your wife. It's like 2 hours though, at least. It was 2 hours for me, and then you had to process and publish and all the other stuff that comes along with it.
Which I've gotten so good at.
But like, I'm so excited for you, Jeff, to see what sort of other art comes out of the little bit of a window you're going to give yourself here to say, all right, if I use this hour to do, like, what format do I want to do Twim in now? What do I want the product to look like? I'm really, because you are, man. You're an
Oh,
artist. You're
it's gonna be
great.
great, folks. We already there's stuff we're working on. It's gonna be great. It's gonna
Yeah,
be a lot of fun. I think it'll be interesting. I think
I
people will
kind of
get it.
can't wait to see that. Right.
Proud to have 600 episodes of this under my belt, and it's gonna be fun to move forward as well.
What a body of work, dude. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Like, honestly, as Jeff and I have talked over the years, man, the thing that, like, it's almost serendipitous. You'll get some email or somebody will reach out and say thanks, or hey, I used this in a lesson, or whatever it is. But like the fact that there are people that care about, to tune in and hear what you have to say week in, week out, and help your effort to sort of digest it and talk through it. That's why we're still here, and why Jeff is still here particularly, is like, it's
Yeah.
a lion's share is the fact that you guys are out there. So thanks for being out there.
Yeah, it's the most weirdly flattering thing. There's been so many times I've wanted to just be like, like, what are we still doing? What are we still doing here? And then you get these random notes. You get a listener who drops you a line on Facebook and wants to follow you on there, something like that. And you're like, man,
Yeah.
there's people who care about this, and that's good. And we care about you. So, I mean, sincerely, it's there's thousands of you who listen. I don't know many of you, but I appreciate you taking the time to be part of the club. It's good times.
It's cool.
Anyway, I don't know what else to say beyond at this point.
Give us a Tom Brokaw sign off, man.
I'm Tom Brokaw. Hello, it's me.
No, like when he retired, it was a whole to do. You ruined the moment.
Good night and good luck. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's what he said, right?
I don't know.
J. Walter Weatherman. Well, anyway, Al, my good friend, thanks for coming back and hopping on with us and
A pleasure, man.
coming back in here. Some full
It's great
circle
to hang
times,
with you.
right? We started this a long time ago. Long
How
time.
are we in our 40s?
It's disgusting, really.
Yeah.
And I have to have a baby.
You'll be 60 before this baby is out at your door.
Yep. There will be no golden years, just death. Just death. That's all it's going to be.
Raise kids and then you die.
Yeah, pretty much it.
I golfed 2 times.
Anyway, all right, buddy. I love you, man. We'll talk soon.
Love you too, man.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to This Week in Mormons. We'll touch base soon.
For Jeff, I'm Al. No, wait, what did you always used to say? Like, live well and prosper?
I said, be well, be holy, and be happy, but I stopped a long time ago.
Oh, yes. Oh, I hate it.
Last week I brought it back for funsies. So
that was great.
No, I don't remember what I said at the end of our first episode, but it'll probably something like, so this has been This Week in Mormons. Okay, bye. Sincerely, I love all you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.